Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I guess it's good morning. It's morning where I am. And this is Bill Jordan here again from Urbicon Studios. And today we're going to have the pleasure of have a beautiful guest. She's going to share with us her vision of life through floral paintings, Miss Barbara Schilling. Good morning, Barbara. How are you today?
Good morning, Bill. I'm doing great.
You're looking fantastic. You must be someplace warm, huh?
Well, actually, it's beautiful today. I don't know what it's like there in New York, but in Grand Rapids, it is sunny and unseasonably warm. So,
so are you a warm weather person or a cold weather person?
Nope, I'm real particular. I want something between 60 and 75.
Oh.
And you don't get that in Michigan very
I
often.
know. I was going to say, what are you doing in Michigan?
I know. So when I do get that, I really enjoy it.
Okay, so we're going to jump right in with the artwork here. We have an image on the screen right now. Can you see that?
I can. Yep.
All right. Could you give us what I call the 411? What's happening here? How did you come about this image? What are you trying to convey? What are you trying to say?
Well, I am a painter of beauty. That is what I see, and that is what I try to convey. To me, I love flowers. I have always loved flowers, but I also am very into the more inorganic shapes that I use in my painting, like the vases, the glass, the textures of different things. I love the way the glow of the light hits the glass and shines through it and creates that kind of almost iridescence.
How does that make you feel, that glow? I feel that as you're saying it, and I'm saying wow. How did you? You're going to say, I'm going to make him feel this way. I'm going to make him see that glow. How do you do that? How do you feel about that?
I think it's very exciting. Maybe if you want to take it on a deeper level, it's almost like seeing the interior glow, which to me is significant in all things in life. Whether you're talking an inanimate object or a living thing, there's always an essence underneath that surface that is the inner core of it. That's the real beauty of it, and that's what I try to find in my flowers too, especially. The petals so soft, so translucent, and if you look into the core of a flower, it's almost as if it glows, as if it has its own light shining from within. And that is really my pursuit as a floral artist, is to try and find that almost inner life or personality within each flower or object that I paint.
So now. You know what I got out of all that? When you're talking about the flower, I was thinking about, well, that's Barbara.
Well, thank you. That's very flattering.
So I'm going to ask you, Barbara, what's your inner glow? Come on, spill the beans. What's it all about?
That's definitely putting me on the spot. It's easier for me to talk about my painting than it is about myself. I certainly, I've lived 61 long years, and
that's a lie. You're not 61.
Thank you. But I've seen a lot of life in that time, and in the process of all of that, I've grown a lot. There are
how have you grown? What do you mean? You were a tulip, now you're a what? Come on. What?
I was young and stupid and reckless, and now I'm maybe a little bit smarter, a little wiser.
Okay, so how are you young, stupid, and reckless? You had a good time? Come on, what was it all about?
I know the story.
Oh, yes, I do. I want to know the story. Come on. Just give me.
I went through my rebellious stage.
One little story.
Oh, no, can't do that. Suffice it to say that I was a rebellious teenager into my 20s, and it took me a while to. One thing that I seem to have sort of been born with was a desire to taste life. I just wanted to drink it up. I never wanted to be one of those people that looked back on my life and regretted not doing things. And so my motto as a teenager was try everything once.
Mm-hmm.
So I pretty much lived that until I realized that there are some things that are truly better not tried.
Right, right.
And so that's where the wisdom came in, to learn to embrace life while still using some sensibility about, making wise choices. I do better at making wiser choices today.
So now this glow that's in this painting here, the
Mm-hmm.
shimmery stuff and the softness. I mean, what part of you? I mean, why do you bring that out? Why is that important to you?
I think that what I want to say with my paintings is that life can be beautiful. Life can be so very hard and so very challenging. And I know there's a lot of painters out there, and it's wonderful what they do as far as making some sort of a social commentary with their work. To me, it's not about that. It's about just giving you something that makes you feel good. Look at a painting and feel the sense of beauty that life has to offer. And that's really what I would love to convey. When I receive a remark or comment from somebody that has been touched by one of my paintings, and they say that it just made them feel happy or it moved them to tears, that to me is just...
Well, wait a minute. I want to talk about that. I mean, like, you're telling me that you have moved people to tears?
Well, they have expressed that to me.
Well, you're so modest about that. Yes, I know. But I mean, okay. I mean, I think that's a great compliment, really.
Oh, it's the ultimate compliment.
Yes.
What more could you ask for, possibly, as an artist? I can't imagine.
Exactly. Right. Because it's a heartfelt situation.
Yeah.
And like, is that your intention when you go about making these pieces? Is that what you do?
I think that perhaps that is more of a subconscious thing. Consciously, I am just sort of driven to paint. It's just there. It must be said. And oftentimes I feel as if my paintings direct themselves. I start them. I have an understanding of particularly in the setup part of it, that I need to direct things compositionally. I have.
Could you give us an example? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, look at this image. Take us through the process you went through to make it. I mean, how you set it up? What was your thought? What story? You say, okay, here it is. I want to do this image. The voice tells you to do it. How are you going to do it? Could you run that to me?
Sure. To be very much more clinical about it and away from the more emotional aspects, the first thing that I saw in this painting was I grow flowers. These flowers are from my own flower gardens.
Okay.
And they were in bloom. And it's like, oh my gosh, they're beautiful. Today is the day I must paint these peonies. So then I start the process of, okay, the peonies are very pink, almost a magenta color. What complements do I want to do as far as selecting and choosing the inanimate objects that are going to be involved in this still life painting, the vases, the color of things, the backgrounds, and all of that. I actually prefer working still life to plein air, even though I've done quite a bit of plein air through the years, because I like the fact that I have so much more control over the setup, the lighting, the situation.
Yes, that's true.
And it's a much more relaxed atmosphere. So all of this is set up in my studio with my still lifes, and I always paint from life. I can't do flowers, either fake flowers or...
Right. Oh, right. Well, I guess there's nothing to communicate, like you're vibing on real life as opposed to like make-believe flowers. You mentioned something that I'm interested in. You mentioned it's more relaxed. A lot of artists, they have a process which they go through to transfer from, like, take Peter Max, for example. Mm-hmm. When he has businesses that are not related to art per se, And when he comes out of a business meeting, what he does to go back into the painting, he has a keyboard in his studio, and he plays the keyboard for 15, 20 minutes to get in, to make that transition.
Sure.
How do you do that? What's your transition? What's your trick?
A nice cup of coffee helps a lot. but more seriously, I think it is the flowers themselves that tend to do that for me. When I hold a flower in my hands, I can't really describe for someone what that feeling is. It covers all the senses. It has the beauty, it has the scent, it has the weight and the feel. There is just something that goes beyond it just being a pretty object for me.
Right.
And I think that people that really are into flowers or into gardening can no doubt relate to what I'm talking about, that there just is it is just something, and I don't know, what is it? You're holding life in your hands.
Right. And not only that, there seems to be the interconnectivity, with this being, this creature.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel very blessed to have been given this gift, because to me this is like a gift from God. He has created this beautiful thing for me to enjoy, and then I have been fortunate enough to be placed in my life in a place and a time where I can appreciate it and enjoy it in a way that a lot of people in our world in less fortunate situations can never see this kind of beauty.
What I'm sensing from you, Barbara, is it's a little deeper than that. I think you're being very modest about your task, your path. That is like, you are the flower lady, and by that I mean is, like the flowers have donned you to be their representative, their spokesperson, their spokeswoman, to talk about them, to share them, to radiate out their energy. Is that what you do? Is that what it is?
Well, that would certainly be an honor if the flowers had indeed chosen me to be their spokesperson. I'm unworthy of that privilege, but certainly that would be a goal of mine. Yeah, absolutely, to be able to present this to other people, that they can look at my painting and see that beauty, then I feel like I've accomplished my goal. And although I see myself growing and developing as an artist, I also recognize that I've got so much to learn yet. What
do you have to learn? What is it you have to learn?
I haven't learned it yet.
Yeah.
I talk about wanting to capture that inner essence of a flower, that life of it, the delicacy of it, the translucency of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I luck out and it's like, okay, I got it there. But then the next time I struggle through it and it's like, oh, it just doesn't flow. It doesn't have that. It doesn't feel animated. So each painting is a new challenge. And
so perhaps, again, I see you as a flower lady. You do the flowers. Every time you do a flower, it takes you further into your flower, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To grow and to learn with it, absolutely.
So what kind of flower are you?
I think I see the peonies. I relate to the peonies. I love the peonies. So I guess maybe I'm a peony. Peony to me has a combination of liveliness. It's not ultra formal, but it's not as, let's say, kind of superficial as a daisy that's all just right there in front of you. It's got layers. It's got that glow intensity down somewhere inside of it.
I'm a daisy guy, man. Now you kind of diss me, right?
Nothing wrong with daisies. There's not a flower that I don't like. I'm not trying to be partial.
Especially like the Dukes of Hazzard, Daisy. You different Daisy, man.
Yeah.
You know what? What I like. I'm gonna use. They have these tools here. I'm gonna show you something. I really like what you're doing. Over here, like I just sense that there's a lot of good energy coming out of there. You know, is that the focal piece of this?
It is. Yes. Yeah.
You know, I really like that, and it seems in a way, in an odd way, that this is like a self-portrait. You know, because if this is your, you know, this is the one we chose first by accident, this is how you see yourself, and you know, it's like, wow, man, you know.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and perhaps not coincidentally enough, this is one of my own personal favorite paintings that I've done to date. So that's an interesting way of looking at it.
You know, so because I mean, you know, it's like our world, and the way we do our art is respect or reflection of who we are. So rather than, you know, doing the standard representationalism, you're doing, you know, abstract symbolism here, you know. Oh, okay. So now, how'd you get into painting? What got you into it?
Well, I have loved art really my whole life, even as a very, some of my earliest memories are drawing, just doing simple pencil sketches. So I've been drawing as far back as I can remember. And when I was about 13, I believe, I did my first oil painting and immediately just became passionate about it, fell in love with it, said, wow, I want to be a Monet or a Van Gogh.
Okay.
Those were probably the only two artists I knew at that point.
Right.
But I did go on to art school, but I got a little bit waylaid with that rebellion stage of mine, and also got discouraged in feeling that you couldn't survive making a living just selling your art.
Right.
That was the point to where I also am very handy at things and always have been. I have an ability to kind of evaluate things really well, analyze things. So people would come in. At the time I was working at a frame shop, and people would bring in old frames and paintings that were damaged, and they were looking for somebody that could fix them. And in the area that I was living here in Grand Rapids, there was really no one that offered that at the time. And so I started just taking on these side jobs as a way of making extra money, and began to realize that something was developing here. People were wanting this. There was a need for it in the area, and I had the abilities to do it. So I started to self-study, learning the craft, as you will, of art restoration, and began to develop that until it became a full-blown career for me. And that's what I've been doing now for over 30 years, is art restoration.
Oh, okay. Art. Now, what is that? I mean, to me, that means like that's heavy stuff, man. That's like you gotta know all this stuff.
It can be.
Could you share with me what is? Come on, tell me all about it. I mean, like you have to wear these big glasses, or what do you have to know?
It is a rather unique combination, I think, of kind of personality traits, where you have to be somewhat of a scientist, somewhat of a mathematician, to be able to evaluate and see things in almost an equation type of perspective.
Really?
Well as being a skilled artist. So, you know, when I approach things, I do restoration on oil paintings, frames, paper art. I even do digital Photoshop restoration of photos. So I've been kind of tried to encompass it all. I've even put together some sculpture and a little bit of ceramic ware for people when they've wanted it. So trying to keep abreast of what's new and current and important as far as the quality and standards of what you're doing, that you're also not doing anything that is going to devalue an important piece.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How do you make that distinction?
Well, I don't really make the distinction as to whether or not a piece is valuable. I merely study how to appropriately approach a piece so that everything that I do would be considered museum standard. I use reversible materials and techniques. I do what is considered in painting rather than over painting on a painting when you're doing repair. It's just trying to maintain the originality and the integrity of any piece I'm working on as much as I can.
Okay, so maybe you can help me out. I bought a piece from a lady named Barbara Schilling.
Very good artist, I hear.
That's what I heard too. And I had I bought this. You see it on the screen here, but this is the original piece. But the one I have now got water damage.
Oh, okay.
Could you take me through the process? Like, what would you do? I mean, how would you work with me to? Can you help me restore my piece? What would you ask me? What do you ask me? How does it go?
First off, there are no two restorations that are going to be identical, because you not only have the elements of the environment and the exposure and the damage that's been caused to it, but you also have the unknown factors of just how an artist may have created this particular piece of art. Mm-hmm. Now, in this case, I happen to know Barbara Schilling personally, so I did on this piece. Right. But if I didn't know that, I might not be sure exactly what mediums she worked with. Obviously, it's an oil painting, but, just what kind of underpainting she might have done, thickness, thinness, different things like that may have been involved in this. And so everything has to be approached with a very conscious testing and trial. So you never just dive into something and start crazy manipulation.
How do you test? I mean,
in the case of an oil painting, for example, it's using a Q-tip and actually testing like a little square, maybe a 1/4 inch area of the painting to see how it's going to respond to different cleaners and processes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And now, if you're talking about a water damaged piece, you probably have different elements that are going to be involved that are going to need restoring, both from a structural standpoint, as well as the integrity of the paint layers themselves, as well as cosmetic damage that probably has been caused. So you've got to address all of those things. The first thing is going to be to make sure that the structure is taken care of. You don't have mold, mildew, or damage in that regard done to it, whether it's a stretched canvas or whether it's a panel painting. And in both cases, those have to be determined, and any steps and processes done to first take care of the structure. Then secondly, it would be the foundations of the painting itself. Water is one of the most damaging things to an oil painting, because you do have, even though the oil paint itself is basically waterproof, you do have all of those other layers underneath. Your canvas can expand and contract, which can agitate the paint and push it off. You can get mold and mildew developing and growth, particularly in the underlayer if there's been more organic primers and so on used on the canvas. Your mold and mildew can be very active, and that can literally push the paint off the canvas as well. So you have to be sure that the layers of the painting itself are stable, and in some cases this means permeating with certain types of adhesives or wax resins that are melted and actually pressed through the layers of the painting to readhere any areas of flaking or unstable paint. And that, once that process is done, now you're basically looking at the cosmetic. It probably needs cleaning, and with the cleaning, it could be any number of combinations of solvents and or cleaners that may work on any individual painting. Again, going back to how was this painting painted, and also what environmental damage has it had incurred. Then once you have done the cleaning, you're looking at any kind of cosmetic retouch or repair that might need to be done. If there was flaking paint loss, you do fillers, you do oil paints to actually it's restoration color. It's a little different than a regular oil paint, because your oil paints themselves would darken with time, and then it would no longer match your original paint.
Right.
So we work with restoration colors, which do not darken. They don't have the oils in them the way the typical oil paints do. So they'll stay more true to color. Once you get everything looking great, then it gets sealed with a good conservation varnish to protect it, and you're good to go. It goes back to the customer.
So when is the book coming out?
Soon, any day now. As soon as I start writing it.
You know, Barbara, that was so like, you know, I was with you all the way. You know, I was a painting contractor for many years, and what you were talking about says, wow, painting contractors need to know this, because water damage and this and that, that's great stuff, man. I mean, like, that's brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. We do a lot of work with restoration services. People that go into homes. They may know how to clean carpets and curtains, but not necessarily should be handling somebody's valuable artwork. And so
exactly.
Often are commissioned by them to do the artwork.
And that's what you do a lot of?
We do a lot of that, but we also do just your family paintings, you know, something that's been in the attic that Grandpa did 100 years ago, and it just needs to find its life again. And we do work with some art galleries and museums as well that have collections that need to be maintained and cleaned and in some cases brought back to life.
So, like, you know, you like the CSI of restoration, right?
That's true. Yeah, that's actually a good way of putting it, because there is a lot of investigation and understanding behind proceeding with a work of art, and you know, it's important. Well, I certainly. With my art background, I'm aware of, you know, the difference between a Picasso versus Grandpa's painting in the attic.
Right.
I also totally understand that Grandpa's painting in the attic is extremely important to somebody. And so to try and treat it with respect is my goal. I do try to do that, even though sometimes my approach may be a little different, because I do understand that Grandpa's painting is never going to sell for $100,000 on the market. It maybe gives me a little bit more leeway to work more cosmetically on Grandpa. I would on a valuable piece, but
you know, like, you're such a wealth of information. Like this is like, what? I mean, this is what a flower can tell me.
Flowers have a lot to tell you.
Oh, okay. So you've been painting since day one, and you did the rough and ready days, trying everything. You know, jumping off the Empire State Building.
Yeah, just about. If I would have been near it, I probably would have tried it. If somebody would have challenged me to.
Yeah. And then and you went to art school, you said?
I did. I went to art school. I went to Kendall School of Design, and at that time it was just basically a trade school. I went there wanting to learn to be a painter, and I found out that really, I came from a small town, and so I really didn't have a lot of exposure to culture growing up. And so I went to Kendall thinking that, you know, oh, I'm going to be an artist. And then I realized that really all that they were offering were programs on how to be an interior designer, a furniture designer, illustrator. And it's like, oh, okay, none of these really are capturing my heart. And so I did not stick with that. And kind of fell away from the arts for a few years before I finally started working at that frame shop and started getting involved in the restoration end of it. I did not do my own artwork. I did not do any oil paintings for probably 15 years while I was raising my kids and doing the art restoration. That was my focus. And
how many children do you have?
Pardon?
How many children do you have?
Oh, I have two boys.
Okay.
They're both
what are their names?
Joel and Adam.
Okay. And what do they do?
Adam is a health and safety engineer, I guess, and is living in Washington State now.
Oh, okay.
And Joel is, he's going back for his master's in game art design. He is extremely talented artist and is also a very, very intelligent with computers. So the game art, three-dimensional game art.
Oh, he's doing the 360 and stuff like that.
Yeah, he does the character design. So
brilliant.
Somebody will give him a concept and he'll
yes.
turn it into a three-dimensional creature, and it just blows my mind. I love it.
I guess he got that from his mother, right?
Well, some of it. I don't know. He can do things I can't do, that's for sure. But I'm still looking for his forever job, so I'll put in a plug for him. He's great. Somebody looking for it. But he's out there right now going.
And so like you were, when you were working, you were raising the kids, doing all that good stuff. And what by the way, when you would, right even now, where do you guys go for recreation? Do you travel a lot? Does that factor into your art knowledge and stuff? Do you travel?
I love to travel, but I don't really get an opportunity to do all that much of it. I love to garden. I've got extensive flower beds and gardens, and I love to hike. I'm a real nature lover, so I like to be outside. I like to take my dogs. I'm also an animal lover. I've got my 2 dogs that are like my best friends, and so spend what time I can with them. I just got a new puppy.
Wow, okay.
More time with her than I'd want to right now. But she's a joy too. So that's really kind of my life in a nutshell, I think. Other than that, it's art. I really am particularly, because my career is also involved in the arts. Many, if not most of my friends are in the arts or artists. When I go out socially, oftentimes it's to art events. When I'm sitting around in the evening reading a book or looking at my tablet, it's usually paintings or studying the latest or learning something about an artist. So my world is very art oriented.
So if I need to know something, I can call you, right?
Well, you can call me. I don't know if I'll have an answer or not, but I'll try.
Okay, so now, anything else you want to share about this particular wonderful image you have on the screen right now?
Not that I can think of, really. Well, one thing I might say, one technique that I am really into right now, I love textures, and I love to keep things a little more towards the impressionistic point of view rather than a photorealism. I like representational pieces. I want you to see that a flower is a flower, but I do like to abstract things, particularly throughout the background and so on. So, and because I love textures, I like to work with a good combination of thin to very thick, transparent to opaque in my different layers of painting, and that's one thing that I have done in that center focal flower that you see there. The center core of that flower is very transparent and very thin, and that is one way that I get that kind of glow that seems to happen down within the core of the flower. And as I wanted to build up those petals, I brought in even a palette knife and started to actually sculpt or carve in some of those shapes with the palette knife. So that's kind of the technique that I like to work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a beautiful piece. And I guess you sort of like could carry over some of your restoration knowledge to your painting. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I was actually amazed myself after 15 years of not doing any painting, but still continuing to do the restoration through all those years. When I picked my paint and brushes back up, I was stunned to find out how much I had learned from all of those years of doing restoration, observing other artists' work and so on. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't have to struggle to remember how to use the tools to make them do what I wanted them to do, but I learned a lot about composition, about color, about technique, and so on, without even really meaning to or trying to with studying other.
What did you learn about composition?
Um, well, honestly, I've just been doing those last couple of sessions there with the Composition Academy, and I'm fascinated by it all. I tend to be, I think, more of an intuitive worker. I'm not a real process-oriented person,
Okay.
and part of that is because in restoration, I have to be so disciplined and follow the processes.
Right.
When it comes to doing my own painting, I am guilty of being one of those artists that just wants
I want to be free.
I just want to start throwing paint on there.
Right.
I don't want to do all the little thumbnails and the value studies.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I know. What I have found about composition are pretty, I think, elemental processes or steps. I observe ways of entering a painting, the flow of the design. I want compositionally to basically everything within my painting, when I am painting a still life particularly, I'm thinking in terms of directing the viewer to my focal point. So if that one flower there is my focal point,
Right.
you will see leaves tip that direction,
Okay.
light flows that direction, petals curve that direction, even the strokes within the background are going to flow or move you back to that direction. So that is my primary understanding, I guess, at this point of composition. And truly, I believe that composition is something that I could do a lot of learning on. I feel like I have a lot.
You have these type energies here. You have this is the main focal point here, right?
Yeah. Yes, and you will see even towards the bottom of the canvas that I lead you in and up to those elements.
Oh yes, right through here, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and creating some depth also by putting something towards the background that looks like it's back behind the vase,
Yes,
on the right hand side over there, to those leaves laying there, kind of give you the sense that there is something going on back behind, just so you keep some interest going throughout the whole canvas rather than just your focal point.
Yes, in other words, the eye is moving around.
Exactly.
It's not static.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good thing, because static art is not as good as dynamic art.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's important to me, and that's where a lot of my textures and my brushwork comes into, because I love that movement. I want my paintings to be very animated. That while I can totally appreciate the skills that it takes to do like photorealism,
Right.
To me that just doesn't have the activity to it, the passion that you feel when you see that strong brushwork.
Yes, well, the brushwork is showing that passion for sure.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Laura Robb's work? She does a lot of still lifes, and
Okay.
a lot of her work is very abstracted, and then she'll just have one focal point, which oftentimes is a flower or something that is just beautifully rendered. And but because her backgrounds and other elements within the painting are so abstracted, they're just so full of life and so full of interest. They're almost mysterious. Like you want to go into these little background areas and see what's that hiding back there. And I love her work.
Is she? Do you study her? Does she influence you?
I do. Yes, it absolutely has influenced me. I think that I just by coincidence have had. I guess one reason why I was interested in her from the very first time I saw her was because I felt that my own art went kind of that direction. I could relate to what she was doing.
Okay, all right.
But certainly she has taken it to a level that I have not yet achieved. But I can learn a lot from Laura, and I have had the opportunity to do an online course with her.
Okay.
And never met her in person yet, which I'd love to do someday. But yeah.
But there's always a saying. We always stand on the shoulders of someone else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's not like you just wake up one day, oh, I'm great.
No.
You stand on the shoulders of somebody else, and And I think that's one of the beautiful things about art, that, you know, you can go back and look at what someone else did.
Yeah.
And get into it.
One thing that has really impressed me in the last 10 years, since I really started to dive back into creating my own work again, and getting more active in the art community, I think artists are an incredible group of people. Artists tend to be just so generous with their time, their knowledge. They give so freely of themselves, and I just see that time and time again, and I'm really overwhelmed by it. When this artist that is way over my head and in level of where they're at in accomplishment takes the time to stop and for free will just give me, you know, invaluable advice. It really blows me away.
Well, that's the spirit of, you know, that's the loving spirit of the great artist, I guess. I mean,
I think so.
I think most artists, let me ask you this. What do you think, what is the role of the artist? What's the function of the artist?
Oh, art is so very important, so very important. And anybody that minimizes that is really missing something critical in life. You know, we may need food and water to survive, but we need beauty as well. And art not only brings us and gives us that beauty, it also tracks our history, our provenance, and it can be a real statement for artists that choose to make that social or political statement. It's a real voice for what's going on in our world and has happened in our world in the past, and even projecting into what may happen in the future. Art encompasses all time of our world, our lives. And
why is it so important for art to be beautiful? What impact, what value does the beauty have with respect to the human psyche, the human experience?
I can't imagine life without beauty in it. Beauty comes in so many different ways and so many different forms, but imagine a gray world with no color and no nothing that you could touch and feel that warmth, that excitement, that passion that you get when you see something very beautiful, whether it's a beautiful ballet dancer, a beautiful flower, a beautiful rendition of music. You know, the beauty comes in all different forms, and it's different for each individual, but that's what makes life worth living. Life is hard and challenging, and it is the beauty that brings us our peace and really gives us a sense of why we're here, and that there is a promise and a hope for us as mankind, I guess.
So now, I like what you said. It makes sense to me. There's some images that are called art. What?
I said, now you're in trouble if I'm making sense to you.
Oh my God. So there's some images that people call art, yet they do not seem to fit into your description of what I just heard. Mm-hmm. What's that all about?
Well, I think, you know, every artist has their own vision, and I think that creating beauty is just one type of art. I think that,
okay.
You know, you can have art that's very ugly that is still very skillfully done, and it makes a very strong, important statement. So I just choose, because to me, beauty is so important, that I choose the majority of my work to be, my attempt at least, is to create something beautiful. But that is certainly just one vision.
So, okay. So in other words, your particular view is the beautiful view. Mine could be the ugly view, but it's still art because we're accomplishing our goals, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And thankfully for that. If everybody was out there painting beautiful flowers,
right, exactly, right, right.
Their preciousness, wouldn't they? So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. In other words, that's the principle of like contrast. You have to have the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And your what you're talking about, whether you're being literal or not, but your perspective on creating ugly art, if you call it, is equally as important if it is conveying a message, or you are giving your voice to something that is significant.
It depends on the situation, because if you show an ugly piece that's showing an ugly situation, like Picasso's Guernica, right? That's ugly, right? But that's what it was.
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes some very ugly paintings can be the most emotionally evocative.
Yes, right.
That can touch you more deeply than seeing the strife or the struggle of something.
But you know what I like about you. I mean, maybe you don't know it or not, but you're a romantic, right?
I'm so practical. I don't know.
No, you don't. No. I mean, look at the lyrical things you do. This piece is so lyrical, man. It's so romantic and soft, and ooh, and you know.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm very pragmatic. I get that from my mother. It's like, yeah, let's be sensible here. We can paint pretty flowers, but
now wait a minute. I'm talking about the young lady who would do anything someone dared to do. I'm not talking about
Oh, that's not romantic. That's just stupid.
Oh my God. Okay, so let me see if I can switch off to another image here and talk about another. Oops, I gotta get out of here. Talk about another piece you have going on. All right, because I'm having a good time here.
Me too. Thanks.
She's a cool lady, man. My God. All right, here we go. What we got? I think we got this one here. We did that one. Okay, that's out. We don't need that one. Let's see what else I got here. Oh, just be patient with me for a second, Barbara. Okay, let's do this one. Did that one. Let's do this one. Okay, so now I have to share my screen again. New share. Mm-hmm. Let me just move it here. There it is. Okay, can you see that one?
Yeah, there we go. Got it.
Let me try to make it a little larger so we can see it. Okay, so this is a yellow one. So what's the name of this one, Barbara?
This one is called Summer Roses. And it is, I've never grown very many roses in my flower gardens because they tend to be a little bit fussier of a flower for growing. They want a little more attention. And because I like to grow a lot of different flowers, I tend to stay away from ones that require a lot of individual care. But I have, as I've gotten older, I have gotten more and more fond of roses for some reason. I don't even know why that is. Growing an appreciation for them. And so I decided it was time to plant some roses in my garden. And this is off from my first rose bush, the first summer that I've really gotten quite a few roses on that rose bush, enough to actually create a bouquet to paint. So that's kind of why I called it Summer Roses. And again, you know, you'll see a lot of the same elements in this painting that you saw in the last, working compositionally with those different leaves, bending in the right direction, the elements of the objects in the painting, all, you know, like the handle or the pour spout of the little creamer leading you into the painting, and just the light and so on, again, all kind of moving you around the painting, but still strongest within a focal point, directing you.
Where is your focal point here?
Focal point on this one would be the largest yellow flower, and it's really kind of more of a section of the painting than it is a specific object, but that middle flower towards the center right there would be part of that focal point. Yeah, but it kind of extends on out. Yeah, all of those areas in there where the light kind of hits the strongest, and so just leading you into that and taking you to that area is kind of my goal.
And so when you did this one, what were you thinking?
With this particular one, I really was very interested in the color palette. The working with the blues and the yellows, I think, are a beautiful color combination.
Yes, that's true.
So that was an important part of the setup or the arrangement on this. I had these gorgeous yellow flowers, and I'm like, what is going to offset them the best? And I felt that the blue would be a good option. Yes. So I have a whole cabinet full of little objects, pictures, vases, shapes, and so I started rummaging around inside of my cabinet to find the blue objects that I thought would all work well together. And in doing that selection and that choice, I'm also not only looking at color, but at shape and size as well. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of times, even though you will see other colors sort of suggested throughout my paintings, my setups are oftentimes very limited to just two colors, and oftentimes complementary colors. I feel that, for me at least, I have found that seems to create the strongest paintings, because you are
because you have actually have three basic colors in here. You have the green, but that's just a complementary color.
Yeah.
So now, what is there a story to this piece?
No, I can't say that there's a story to it.
Yes, there is a story. You know what the story is?
Well, tell me.
That Barbara now likes roses.
Okay, yeah.
and as Barbara now likes roses, that means that your portrait has shifted.
Well, maybe I think of roses as being a little more formal, and that's one reason why I never really loved roses, was because they seemed a little bit too formal for me. Maybe I'm getting more sophisticated in my old age.
Whoa, yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
Although I must say that even though I do love roses better today than I used to, I still like the roses that are a little more freeform. I don't so much love the real stiff, tight tea roses kind of look.
Well, I guess then what you'll have to do is bless us with a series of those type roses, right?
I hope to do that. Yeah. I'll try.
I'll be looking forward to that. And you know, I don't mean to cut things short, but we've only budgeted 1 hour for this conversation.
Well, it's gone fast, and I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, you know, el gusto es el mío. You know what I'm saying? It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
And so, Barbara, you know, it's a pleasure being with you. And oh, by the way, you know, how can people get in contact with you? I know. Whoops! I know that you're living in Michigan. Do you have a website or something they can contact?
I do. Mm-hmm. It's www.barbaraschilling.com. So they can always get all my contact information from my website. Also, I'm very active on Facebook, LinkedIn, just started kind of with Instagram. So,
so when they go to Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff, they do Barbara Schilling, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so now, Barbara, I know that you're just whipping things out day and night, restoring and all that good stuff, but you have any shows coming up?
I do have a Christmas event. It's going to be December 16th and 17th in Holland, Michigan. And I'm going to have to ask you to please check my website if you're interested, because I can't remember all the information on it right off the top of my head. But it will be a combination of gallery pieces, as well as I'm going to be bringing out some of my more giftware pieces that I'm kind of starting to market. Giclées of my originals, hand textures,
Oh,
and some art licensed objects like calendars,
oh, okay.
pillows, purses, all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to.
So you taking care of business.
I'm trying.
Remember that song by the BTO?
Absolutely.
Taking care of business? Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. Okay, well, Barbara, anything else you want to share with us today before we close out?
No, other than just to say that it's been delightful, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Sure thing. So now, you can go on Barbara's Facebook. This episode will be posted there. And it's going to be on YouTube as well. This part of the show has been presented to you, sponsored by the Academy of Composition. You can go to academyofcomposition.com and get all the information you need to know that you ever want to know about composition. And as Da Vinci said, 80% of his work is composition. So, if Da Vinci said it, it must be true. With that, Bill Jordan here from Rubicon Studios saying thank you. I'll talk to you later. And